Morning, everybody. Thank you very much for attending. We're just going to wait for a few more people to start, to arrive before we actually start. Feel free to add any questions into the Q&A or anything into the chat beforehand. I've put a little question into the chat, so feel free to answer that one if you like. Okay, I think we're ready to start. So, yep, brilliant. So thanks everybody for attending this first in the series of the Power of the Power Platform webinar series for the NHS. Just going to go through a few housekeeping rules to start with, and then I'll go into the agenda. I'll let you know who the speakers are today, and then I'll hand over to my colleague, Bill. So Bill, if we could just move on to the next slide, please. So just a few housekeeping rules to start with. This session is being recorded, and we will make a recording available to everybody after the webinar has finished. All attendees will be on mute and all cameras will be off as well for attendees. If you do have any questions, please do feel free to put it into the Q&A, or any comments, put it into the chat. Next one, please, Bill. Just like to introduce your speakers today. So from DigPacks, we have myself. My name's Karen Moore. I'm a senior account manager here. I have my colleague Bill, who is a director, and Josh, who is our head of automation and AI. If you want to contact us through LinkedIn, there is the link in there. But if you just search up DigPacks in LinkedIn, you'll find us. So from Microsoft today, we have Mehmet, who's the Power Platform Healthcare Solutions Specialist, and Louisa, who is the Power Platform Healthcare Technical Specialist. And we also have Saj from NHS England on too to talk about the application store. Okay, next slide then, please, Bill. So here's the agenda today. First of all, we're going to do an intro into DigPacks and Microsoft Healthcare team. Microsoft are then going to be talking about the Power Platform, what it is and the benefits for the NHS. My colleague Bill is then going to be highlighting a few of our DigPacks solutions that we have already created for NHS trusts, some of the ones which are the most impactful. We'll then talk about some of our customer case studies, some of the services that we offer. As mentioned, Saj will be talking about the NHS.net Connect Solution Store. I'll then run through some of the other webinars that we have in the rest of the series, and then we'll do a summary and close. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to my colleague Bill.
So good morning all, pleasure to be with you today. You'll be pleased to know I'm going to flick through the slides that introduce DigPacks quite quickly, and we'll keep our time for Power Platform, the applications, the automations, and all the things that you can do with Power. So DigPacks, founded in 2019, we started with healthcare trusts right from the very beginning. So we've been healthcare focused ever since. We're a local consultancy, so we have offices in Hertfordshire and in Cardiff, and we have employees in England, Scotland and Wales. So we don't use any outside parties, no offshored work, etc. And we're a trusted partner. So we've been working with NHS Trusts for a number of years now, and that's pretty much exclusively what we do. So we're, as said, healthcare focused, but I think one of the things that differentiate us is that we offer a number of ready-made solutions. So we do understand the healthcare industry, what you guys go through on a daily basis, and the sort of apps that you guys need to carry out your daily work. And so in the interests of trying to make it easier, quicker and cheaper for everyone, we try and make solutions that can go multi-trust wide. And you'll see a few of those today. So some of the solutions listed up above that we've done, and some of the NHS trusts we work with, small samples there. And again, as said, we work very closely with Microsoft on a number of our engagements. Microsoft have done case studies on our work in terms of automation within the NHS. And we work very closely as well with NHS England and working on some key projects with those to enable NHS trusts. And We've also been nominated for things like Tech for Good Awards for an asset booker that is up on the NHS application store for download, as well as other applications that we've provided there as well. So that's it for the brief intro to DigPacks, and I'll be speaking to you all again shortly about some of the applications and automations and the way you can really make some progress and get some advantage from Power Platform. I'll hand over now to Louisa.
Perfect. Cheers, Bill. Lovely to see you all this morning. So I'll just say hello and who I am again. So I'm Louisa. I'm one of our technical specialists here at Microsoft Power Platform. Essentially, I'm here to help advise on what technology helps to support you in your roles, what can help with your organization, depending on what goals you're trying to achieve. So I get the really important part today where actually I can talk to you around why are we having this conversation at all? Why are we sat here in this webinar? Why are we talking about Power Platform, which is a low-code tool that Microsoft offer? And kind of also, how can we bring this into the NHS world? How is it important in our healthcare industry that we use tools like Power Platform that sit in this low-code space? So I guess the little tagline, low-code, Power Platform, these tools are all about agility. The point is where we see technology ever progressing, ever getting better, ever getting smarter. It's difficult sometimes when the rate of change of the entire technology landscape moves faster necessarily than we can have the budget for or necessarily the resource for in public sector. So actually what tends to happen is we tend to go one of two ways traditionally. Sometimes we look at point solutions. So that's things which come off the shelf, you deploy, send to live pretty quickly, to be honest, you get what you're given. Point solutions are incredibly useful in terms of actually getting that time to value. You switch them on, you start using them straight away. You have that low development cost. You also have little to no customizability and control over what you're working with. The flip side of this, the other extreme typically would be pure custom development, sitting down and creating a solution using .NET, for example. Again, there are pros and there are cons to this kind of example. It's great that you can fully customize everything you want. You have full control over the solution that you're going to end up with. You also have significant development time. You also have significant level of responsibility and maintenance, which comes with these custom development solutions. So it's very much a case of how do we want to approach this? Do we want to get what we're given and that's kind of it, and we kind of have to work around that? Do we want to fully start from scratch? Sorry, if you go back one, Bill. If we fully, start from scratch, go from nothing, and then, have this massive, it takes us a year before actually we start using these tools, before we start seeing return on investment for them. Every little change is difficult to make because we've got to go into the depths of the work that we've already done. So when we talk about low-code tools, we see them as this middle point between those point solutions and the custom development, where actually we aren't sitting down and we're saying, okay, here's a specific problem you've got to work to, or here's, a framework which we've seen other people develop and we're going to just kind of work to that because that's what we know. When we talk about low-code platforms, we're talking about the benefits of both these worlds, and that's where they give us this opportunity to solve any kind of problem that comes our way. It doesn't have to be something that exists as a problem today. It could be something which actually in a year's time is something completely unbeknown to the healthcare industry, but seems to have popped up our way. And also that flexibility and the agility around how do we adapt, how do we improve, how do we change over time so that we're constantly being forward thinking and innovative. So when we talk about low-code platforms, I don't want anyone to think of a finance system or this weird and wonderful app that our teams fully hard-coded from scratch and have spent years and years just to get into production. What we want to think about when we talk about low code and the scenario we want to work towards is what do we need and how can we make the technology work for us, as opposed to working within limitations of what this off-the-shelf app provides us or what the capabilities and time constraints allow us to do. So if you flick one forward, please, Bill. When we talk about Power Platform, when we talk about this capability, we want to talk about how do we transform, how do we work for ourselves and work in the best interest of the trust. What we don't want to do is start with a solution and see if we can make our problem fit to that. We get, a pre-made app that, kind of is generic across the finance industry, the healthcare industry, retail use it as well. It's not going to work. It'll do some of it. It will help us quite a lot. It won't get us there though. It won't get us to the point we want to be at. And what will end up happening is we will end up changing the way we carry out processes, the way we work in our day-to-day will mold to the application we've been given or the application that our development teams have the time and resource to create, not working towards the way we actually want to be working and the way we care about. So when we think about transformation, this can fall into a number of sort of areas. First, and probably one of the most important, is how do we enrich employee experiences? Our employees are what makes our organisations our organisations. We rely on them. They do all the difficult work. They are the people that make everything go around, to be honest. What we need to be doing is supporting them as individuals. We need to be making sure that they come to work happy. They know that they're coming to work making a meaningful impact. We don't want people coming into work who perhaps work in a clinical setting, but actually spend 3/4 of their time doing admin. That's not why we were hired them. That's not what we saw their skills being. That's definitely not what they came to work for us to do. So how can we support employee experiences so they can do that meaningful work? How can we make sure that they're enjoying doing that work and that they're safe and supported while they're doing this? We don't want anybody worrying about the way a process is carried out and worried about the gotchas just because they didn't know how this little thing worked or how this piece of technology runs. How do we put them in a safe environment and do their best work, and how do they enjoy doing it? The next one is how do we support patient care? So ultimately everything we're doing here is to provide the best care we possibly can for our patients and our communities. Now, this can either be a solution which is direct to patients, something that's patient facing, a way that they can help interact with us in a more meaningful way. It could also be indirect. So how can we support our clinical team or our admin teams to ensure that inherently our patients get a better experience? Is it a more efficient way of communicating with us? They're not endlessly in phone call queues waiting just to speak to somebody and then there's no appointments that day. Is it actually making sure that when they do get an appointment, rather than waiting a month to get a letter and then actually that appointment's been taken, how do we make sure that we can get that to them as quickly as possible? And again, we can get them into that meaningful position and we can deliver the best care possible to them. But ultimately, patient care needs to be a North Star. It needs to be what we always keep in mind when we think about solutions. If we're trying to fit ourselves around an application, it's not going to work like that. What we need to do is build a solution for ourselves, build something that allows us to deliver that patient care in the way we want to deliver it. Next up, business processes. How do we reshape these? How do we make them what we want? Kind of what I've started to bang on about, but how do we make sure technology, what we use, what we build, and what we interact with works for us rather than vice versa? I think from my experience talking to trusts, a lot of processes are heavily dictated by what we have available, what technology can do, and especially what technology's limitations are. And then what happens is we end up creating all these weird and wonderful activities around that to help support the way we run a process and the way we do our day-to-day jobs. This might not be the most efficient way of doing them. They might not be the most enjoyable way of doing it. There's definitely instances where we're not being totally compliant in the way we're doing it, but it gets the job done. And that is a business process that is shaped out of, honestly, sheer frustration and the willpower of the people that work for us because they're just trying to make things work. And again, that's what happens when you have a solution that isn't exactly what you want, or we don't have the resource to get where we need to be. So actually, how can we use tools like Power Platform to turn around and say, okay, this is exactly how we as people, how we as the trust want to come forward and how we want to work. Let's make technology work for us. Let's reshape this business process. The technology feeds into our story. Finally, so the fourth one is, so actually how do we unlock innovation opportunities? When we see that actually we can deliver projects faster, we can deliver them in a way that's more meaningful to people, how do we make sure that, once a piece of technology is in people's hands, it's easy to onboard them, it's easy for them to get started and easy for them to use? When we start seeing those productivity gains, when we start saving costs on systems we don't need, for example, That's where we have almost that room to grow, that room to start being innovative and forward thinking rather than reactive to all the things that actually we should have solved 5 years ago. So actually, when we start looking at low code tools, when we start looking at Power Platform, we're not just thinking how we can solve the problems that we've got today, but actually how are we making space for ourselves to be better in the future? And how do we ensure that, we're not just in a sort of standstill, just maintaining, just treading water? How do we actually swim forwards and get to where we want to be? Just click one more forward, please, for us, Bill. Now, I know I've done the talk, the why. Hopefully that resonates with everybody in terms of how do we make technology work for us. I realise I've said all that without talking about technology, and that is literally in my role title. So just to go through a little bit about what Power Platform is. So we've got the 5 core components here. I'll work left to right on my screen. So the first of that is going to be Power BI. I think this is the one which, for the longest period of time, most people will be most familiar with. But for those of you that don't know, so we use Power BI for creating dashboards, creating reports, sharing analytics within our teams. So again, that's typically what we've all seen before, we've all interacted with in some way. Everything else sits on this same platform, works with the same tooling, is underpinned by the same architecture. But next up, we have Power Apps. These kind of going to do what they say on the tin. But how do we create custom and data-driven applications? How do we make applications that work for us so that our users can interact with data, so they can work in these processes we've talked about? How do we make sure that they've got the easiest way possible to do their job digitally so that they can then go away and interact with patients, provide excellent care, and actually provide excellent work back to their teams? But applications is how we create that user interface, that user experience into this. Next up, Power Automate. So this is both digital and robotic automation. So cloud-based automation, how do we get rid of the mundane admin jobs? How do we get rid of anything that's repetitive or anything that actually we need to solve quickly and efficiently, but actually doesn't need that human eye 100% of the time? So actually, can we use Power Automate to simplify the process? Can we take away a lot of the tasks that we as people don't need to go and perform? Within Power Automate, we do have robotic process automation. I know that is a common tool across healthcare, especially within the NHS. What's really important to note is, while robotic process automation, I'm going to start calling it RPA because that's a mouthful, while it's super important for bringing together legacy systems, bringing them into the new age and using them while we still have them, they shouldn't be a first thinking approach. It is an old method. It is a slightly outdated method. It is essential where it's essential, however. But because all of this sits on the same platform, what we can actually turn around and do with RPA is we can supplement it with the cloud-based automation. And inherently from that, what we can do is actually support the stability and the way that these RPA systems work. Now, it's not going to go away anytime soon. I think I'll still be talking about RPA in the next 10 years. But what it does mean is that we aren't wholly reliant on it. We're not looking at automations that are breaking twice a month. Actually, what we can do is bring as much as we can into the cloud era while still not completely chopping off our nose when it comes to using legacy systems. Next up, we've got CoPilot Studio. So this is our intelligent agents, chatbots, conversational AI. Now, these chatbots, they can be internal, they can be external. You can use them however you want, to be honest. But essentially, how can we create a conversational experience with our data to our users? This could be something along the lines of internally, how do we just have a HR bot so that people can ask simple, quick queries? How do we stop them emailing and phoning into HR to ask things about payroll, for example? Do we want to create intelligent bots? So actually, we can send this to our IT service desk. How do we help them to support cases which are really repetitive? Let people self-serve and through their role, make sure that they can solve their own IT problems quicker and easier. We don't necessarily need somebody from the service desk to do that if it's a really common and simple cause. So we can do all that through the conversational AI, but we can also do this external facing if we wish to. So sticking a bot out to interact with the community, to interact with patients, to answer simple questions or help them to self-serve. Just supporting that kind of way that they interact with us, whether they want to read it off a screen on a website or whether they want to start talking to us in a bot. Finally, we've got Power Pages, essentially website creation. Now, I've talked about Power Apps, and that's very important internally. You may have vendors, you may have partners, you may just want to interact with, again, patients and community. Now, they need to have a level of access into their own data or data they're allowed to talk to. You don't want to give them access as if they're an employee, however, that's not quite right. So what we can do is actually using Power Pages enable that kind of conversational mode where they can see the information that they need to see, they can interact with it, they can have control over it, but they are treated as an external user. They only see the information that's related to them, related to their function, or related to them as a patient. We click once more, Bill. Those are the 5 core components of the Power Platform, so they all sit side by side. There is a bit of a supporting class as well to make these truly intelligent, to make them truly efficient. One of those being AI Builder, how we bring AI into all these different components. Do we want to do some object content recognition? Do we want to pull information from images? Do we want to automate documents and how they're processed? Do we want to analyze text and generate text that we're going to use? All of those can be used with AI Builder, and there is no real knowledge of AI that's needed to get these going. They are models which are either pre-trained or pre-built by Microsoft. You just need to give the specific instructions you want that AI to have, and off we go. Manage environments. This is definitely a piece for the governance and security teams, and hopefully it'll keep them excited. When we start talking about build whatever you want, build exciting new solutions, some people get excited. Some people get a little bit anxious and nervous when we say that. When we talk about managed environments, however, we're talking about a way to safely govern, control, and manage what everybody is up to, what your developers and what your users are doing within this space. What it also importantly does is allows you to do that at scale. Governance is no easy job. It is an entire job for multiple people, and it can get a little bit long and a little bit of a headache. What we do with managed environments is actually we set you up for success. We allow you to scale. We give you core functionality, key out the box features to make sure that actually you're not doing this from scratch, and to make it as easy as possible to bring Power Platform into your existing governance strategy. Next up, connectors. So as much as it will make your Microsoft account teams cry, you're not 100% Microsoft. You will have third-party systems. You will have NHS core systems. You will have homegrown systems that you've created yourselves. That's the way the world works. That's the way we are. So that doesn't mean that just because you're using Power Platform doesn't mean you're restricted to Microsoft-only tooling. We appreciate that not every Microsoft tool is right for every single job. It depends what you've got. It depends what you're investing in. So actually, when we use these connectors, it means that we've got pre-built out of the box over 1,500 different sources that you may want to connect into. If you find something, and somebody always does, that isn't on that list of 1,500 different softwares and systems, you can also set up your own connectors if you have the API connectivity. So then what we can do is actually have a really quick and simple way to interact with SAP services you've got. Maybe you're using Oracle databases. Maybe you have, I don't know, Salesforce. Maybe you want to pull marketing insights from different social media sources. We give you a much simpler and easy way to do that. If you create your own, you create it once, and then it becomes a reusable asset for your teams. So we aren't faffing around with APIs every single time we want to work with a different system. Finally, as well, Dataverse. At the core of it, it's a data storage system. However, it has a lot more logic, security, and integration features built on top of this. Dataverse is what allows the entire Power Platform to run and allows it to work at an enterprise scale. As well as, so if you need to integrate different data sources together that don't currently work together very well, whether you want to create new data storage solutions, however you want this to work, Dataverse is what enables that to happen and allows you to put security over the top of it. And then if you could just do once more, please, Bill. I'm not going to go into Azure, this isn't an Azure call, but because this is a Microsoft service, this is all built with Azure in mind. It's all built on top of Azure, which means you inherit the security, the management, and the compliances that you'd all expect. Importantly as well, you get the identity services. So everything that you've done in Microsoft Entra currently, everything to do with your users, whether that's internal or whether you've set up B2B or B2C, all that works with Microsoft Entra, even the bots, Power Apps, Pages, Automate, so that actually as you've already got this set up, you can already bring that identity management into your solutions. So you've got that extra piece of security working for you. If we move forward one, I'm going to start closing off on this because I appreciate everyone's probably chomping at the bit to hear about all the different apps that people are using and DigPacks created. But just a couple of messages just to kind of understand why we need to talk about Power Platform now, what to expect, what are the outcomes you're looking to achieve from Power Platform. So the one I keep talking about, to be honest, how do we tackle complex problems faster, but at scale? So, like I said, if we can shorten time to production, if we can reduce development costs, if we can get people using and interacting with services quicker and easier, ultimately you're going to see that massive return on investment from that. You're going to see much better user adoption, much better user ability in terms of using the services. We're not creating supplementary Excel sheets to help us do our job. As well, reducing that technical debt and that risk that comes with all of it, to be honest. We can reduce technical debt. Power Platform isn't just for new projects, but if you need to leverage what you already have, if you need to improve on top of it, if you need to migrate anything, Power Platform can be used for that as well as new projects. Fobbing off all the legacy stuff that's causing you headaches that's not quite up to scratch, but we don't have a replacement for, or we don't have a supplement for. Getting rid of that inherently removes risk, but also we can improve the solutions so that we can build with compliancy in mind. And then also, how do we increase that agility to adapt and change? We're not just looking at how do we help ourselves today, but actually how can we turn around and improve the way we work looking forward? How do we build solutions with the fact in mind that we want to improve on it next year, or in 18 months' time, policy is going to completely change and we're going to completely have to change the way we do everything? A solution that is quick and easy to build with security behind it is a solution that is also quick and easy to modify and update and carry on working for you. You aren't just stuck with the first draft you make. You can decide a month down the line if you want to change it. If it's going to improve for you, if it's going to bring you more benefits, it's totally worth it, and you're easy for you to go off and do that. So just a couple of reasons, I suppose, on the why, the what to expect, the kind of returns we want back for it. But this is where I'm going to hand back to DigPacks now. I think everyone's excited more about what applications can we get off the solution store and also what kind of services can we get. So I'll hand back over to the DigPacks team.
Thank you, Louisa. That is a really good insight into the Power Platform, the components within it, and why and how you could use it in terms of security behind it and how quick it is to modify and change as well. I think Louisa touched on a really good point as well about whether you do custom products or if you buy off-the-shelf products, and that's about the customizability. If you buy an off-the-shelf product, you get what you're given effectively, and there's little room to modify that. Whereas if you go down the route of either building your own, they're very quick to modify, as Louisa touched upon, or apps from the App Store, for example, on NHS England, or apps that are pre-built from us, for example. What you're seeing in front of you now is Asset Booker solution. The point about this being is this is what it is. It's a great solution, does what it needs to do right now. But if you need any change to this, all changes are quick and they're pretty much doable no matter what your requirement. We can sort of fit it in. So to go through some sample applications that you can deliver with the Power Platform, I'm going to go through a few of these now just to give you a rough oversight of what you can do with Power Platform. So as was touched upon previously, this is an application. So there's a number of different flavors of this. So you can create applications in Teams or standard Power Apps applications. And we've got a couple of flavors of this Asset Booker one here. But what this is an application that allows users to define any asset that they wish to make bookable. So it's all configurable. So it's just configurable from an administration screen. There's no big setup procedures, etc. So you can book your desks and your meeting rooms, for example, and then you can deploy the application again for a different audience, and you can deploy for the maintenance team, for example. They can book out ladders, drills, etc. So the point about this is you can book any asset you like, and this is available on the App Store for download, completely free of charge. And I think another point to say on this is customizable. So this is effectively a starting point. So you've got the full booking procedures and functionality such as approvals, allocated users, admins being able to override and cancel other users' bookings, any asset type you like to be booked. And we bring into this as well, you can see there's Power BI dashboard that flicks up on this as well. So we use quite a few features of the Power Platform. But basically, this is the starting point. So if you need modifications to this, we can jump on the Teams call and talk about what else it is different that you needed to do. And to Louisa's point, this is quick to modify. You're not left with a product that you have to stick with from now on. So that's the asset booker. Book any asset that you like within your own time periods, etc., in your own locations. Now we're into a SOP solution, so standard operating procedures. Now this here is around SOPs, but the reality is this can be around SOPs, policies, guidelines, any document repository that you have, you can put to the front of this. Now, one of the main reasons for implementing this SOP application was around compliance. So what we do here is we have different people within different roles, and all those documents are stored in SharePoint, and we put a front end on that SharePoint library, and we stop access to the library, so users have to access through the application. Now the benefits of that are, one, we can audit. So now we can audit that a person has viewed the SOP required for their role, and that also allows us to audit the person or people that have not viewed the steps required for their role, and that's within SOP. But you've got other features here as well, so you can share a SOP with another user, another member of the team. You can forward it on to them and put a customizable email with it. As said, everything's audited. You can view the SOP within the application, and there's a whole edit process that you can go through here as well. So I can ask a certain user to perform edits, that can go through its full approval process, and all that data is draft until approved. Once approved, then that data becomes visible to all. So this is the SOP. This is an application we did a year or so ago, but just to prove the power of Power Platform, we completed that over a year ago, and now with the advent of CoPilot coming into the mix, now no changes to the application at all. The SOP application is still the SOP application. We've made 0 changes, but now we can point a CoPilot to that data store as well. So now we just put CoPilot on, and this is very quick. This is not a time-taking solution. This is point the CoPilot to those data stores in SharePoint. They're automatically security trimmed, so who has access can ask the questions of the documents they have access to. And now, for example, in the screenshot that I've put up, we make that CoPilot available internally within Teams. So now you can literally, within a Teams chat, go and ask the CoPilot, in this example I've got on the screen, what are the steps to transfer a mental health patient? And then that's it. The CoPilot will query all that internal data and return the steps with references, so you can validate that information that you're seeing in front of you. So as I said, beauty of the Power Platform, the SOP app was developed some time ago. Now CoPilot's come along. It's literally just a plug on to the SOP solution, and then we're just building, getting better. And that's another point of Power as well, in terms of, as CoPilot evolves, these features and functions will just automatically be available to you, and so you just get enhanced functionality as the time goes on. So that's the SOP solution. And now we've got something that I believe all NHS trusts have to do, and this is DPIAs, Data Protection Impact Assessments. So these are done throughout pretty much all the NHS trusts. So basically what we've got here is we can create a DPIA. Now, a number of different trusts want these formatted very differently for each other. So Trust 1 will want a different set of sections and a different set of questions to Trust 2, for example. So what we've got here, we've got a Power App that we've created with Dataverse at the back end, so keeping the data secure. But what we've got is a number of sections. So you've got the pre-screen process. So everybody starts the process by filling out the pre-screen, and that will effectively give a judgment, do I need a full DPIA? The data protection officer can intervene and say you also need a security check to be completed, or you need a DPIA and a security check. So if that happens, then automatically the right people are notified, they've got an action to complete, and they're brought into the application to complete their DPIA or their security check. And the security check and the DPIA can run in parallel to each other, so you don't have to wait for one to finish before the other one can complete. But again, all subject to approvals. But I think the good thing about this application is the fact that as their Trust 1 will want a different shaped DPIA questionnaire to Trust 2. And this is where in here our sections are configurable. So if you want certain sections to appear, you can just write them in. We've got a configuration screen where you can add the sections to each of the main sections. You can add a subsection title. Within the subsection, you can add all the questions that you wish to be asked. And then within those questions, they're up to you to define what kind of questions they are. So is it a multi-line text box? Is it a people picker? Is it you want people to select something from a drop-down box? All that is completely within your control. So we deploy this, and it will deploy with a standard NHS approved set of sections and questions. But if you feel any of those you want to remove or add or edit, then you can do that. So you can just edit its question text, its question type, i.e. the answer type, etc. So fully configurable. It's a deploy once, configure on your environment for the questions you want to be asked, and that's it, you're good to go. Or output to PDF, etc. Again, so this is a Power App with full audit capability as well. So everything that everybody does is audited. So we log all those transactions. And now, so what we've been through so far is a number of applications, and those applications contain dashboards, the Power BI side of things. They also behind the scenes contain a lot of the Power Automate, the web-based work to give reminders, etc., to people to do their actions, to give out approvals, send approval to a user, then they can approve. That carries it, that transfers that data back into the system. But now what we're talking about is the other kind of automation that Louisa touched upon, which is about the RPA, so robotic process automation. And so the reason we need this within the NHS is because some of the systems that we interact with, whether it be Rio, ESR, etc., they don't have readily available APIs. So we can't just with code talk to those systems. So what we have to do is go in as though we're a user. So that's what a RPA job is effectively. It will log on to the system as though it's a user, fill out the right fields, click the submit button, etc. So what we have here is an automation that we've done, and Microsoft have written a case study on this automation as well, and we do have videos we can provide on top of that. So this was an NHS trust that receives referrals via email. Now these emailed referrals can come in a number of different formats, straight from a GP surgery with a specific kind of format that the GPs have on their internal systems, or it can be a PDF that's just attached to an email, or there's some where it's in the email body text. And so what we do, we automate that by having Power Automate read the email, check if it is a referral. If it is a referral, it extracts the data from it, knowing what type of input that is, i.e. is it in the body text, the PDF, or another specific format. We extract that data and we store it securely in Dataverse. And then what we do is we'll log on to Rio and we will check the patient details, and we confirm that we can validate the patient is who the patient is. And then when all that's confirmed, then we'll upload the physio referral details into Rio, add progress notes, etc., and save. Now this was a big time saver in time, but in people power as well. So people were doing they should have been doing other duties, but instead they're reading emails. They're trying to discern what type of a referral it is. They're extracting that data, they're copying it over to Rio, then they're writing the progress notes, etc. And sometimes that took 20 minutes to do a single referral. So this was brought down massively to about, I think it's 2.5 minutes per referral with a robot, and they're getting about 6,000 referrals a year of this type of a physio referral. So this saved around 2,000 hours. But here's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is that all SLAs are now met. So robots, they don't get sick, they don't need time off, they work at weekends and evenings. So all the time that robot's available, and they completed the jobs as required. And so that is the RPA part of the Power Platform. So I think now I can hand over to my colleague Josh to go through.
Perfect. Yeah, it works for me. Thank you, Bill, and hi, everybody. So this first slide focuses on a series of Power Apps that we at DigPacks delivered for Hertfordshire, and this focused around staff onboarding in particular. I think, as we all know, staff onboarding poses a number of challenges, as the entire process relies upon several teams to ensure the relevant procedures have been followed before somebody can actually be onboarded. So at Hertfordshire, we built a solution called the Staff App. This was a single digital location, or a Power App, for all HR-based e-forms, also known as electronic forms. Managers would raise requests via the Staff App for staff equipment or system access. It also allowed staff to notify HR in the event of a change of circumstance, such as when an employee gets married and their surname changes. The app can also be used to trigger the mover and leaver process, which can be automated, and it has great extensibility, allowing for direct access to various systems such as ESR, and this can be done through either API or cloud-based automation or RPA, and that helps to support cross-system integration. Next slide, please, Bill. So this slide aims to highlight the collaboration between DigPacks and John Burton's team at Berkshire Healthcare. So our journey with Berkshire started in 2021 with the implementation of the DOMS physio referral solution. And since then, we've continued to work closely with their team, providing mentoring, training, and of course, delivery services to augment their current team. And this incorporates solutions that are both clinical and back office in nature. The ongoing partnership led to the establishment of the Berkshire Healthcare Intelligent Automation Team, and this team works to drive continuous value through the Power Platform while also fostering a culture of innovation and efficiency across the trust. And one more, please, Bill. So this slide aims to cover the so what from what we've talked about. You know, apps and automations are great, but ultimately, what are the benefits associated with their implementation? So if we take a look at the SOP, or the Standard Operating Procedure app first, finding the correct SOP can be challenging, and ensuring that a team member is actually following it can be even more difficult. By digitizing the overarching solution, we've managed to save around about 15 minutes per staff member every single week. Next up, we've got the automation that we've talked about. This is the DOMS referral automation. This works to streamline, as Bill has already highlighted, referrals as they come through into the trust, and it saves around 18 minutes per referral, or 226 days per annum. And in much the same vein as DOMS, we've got the referral migration solution. This is ERS into Rio. It does very much the same thing. However, this one has a significantly higher volume and thus a higher time save attached to it. DPIA, this one saves around about half a day per project every year, but even more beneficial than the time saving directly is the enhanced governance that the app provides, working to ensure accountability and a unified location for access and tracking information. And then finally, we've got the Asset Booker. This is freely available from DigPacks and the NHSE Solution Store. It delivers substantial benefits compared with off-the-shelf software, and could save anywhere between 20 to 100,000 compared to the licensing costs for those solutions. And last one, please, Bill. Perfect. And to close out this section, I just want to talk about how DigPacks can work to help you. So at DigPacks, we offer a range of services: consulting, delivery, and operations. Our consulting services aim to support your strategic vision with the Power Platform, identifying and prioritizing opportunities, and using our deep understanding of healthcare to recommend optimal candidates and maximize the returns that you would get from leveraging the platform. From a delivery model perspective, we can support with proof of concepts and proof of values, helping to clearly demonstrate the benefits associated with Power Platform. This is shown in our work that we've done to date with Berkshire. And these solutions help to build a strong business case to drive that Power Platform adoption within a trust. I guess I'll just flag that one. If your trust lacks Power Platform capabilities, DigPacks can help to manage that, perform the delivery, or augment an existing team. And the final one is operations. So building solutions is fantastic, of course, but you need to make sure that they remain functional. We do provide break-fix support, as well as advisory, training, and enablement, taking your teams from novice up to capable delivery individuals. And at this stage, I believe I'm handing over to Saj, if that's correct.
Thanks, Josh. Hi, everyone. I'm Saj Sabir. I work as a tech specialist within the NHS England Centre of Excellence team. And I'm here to plug the Solution Star. So thank you very much to the guys at DigPacks and Microsoft for giving me some time. Just to go through what the Solution Star is, I think we've had it up and running now for a couple of years, and really we've focused at being a community-based solution, a central repository for anyone on the central tenancy to share solutions. And we've focused primarily on Power Platform solutions to begin with. But yeah, we've seen some good usage in terms of organizations downloading and consuming apps, but not so much with uploading. So we'd always encourage users of Power Platform to upload and share solutions where possible. A big shout out to DigPacks as well, who've contributed massively to the solutions on the store as well. Solutions on the store are unmanaged, so you can look to utilize those and tailor those to your organization's needs, and they are all free. With it being a community-based store, that's what we're hoping to aim to keep, and hopefully we will too. Looking forwards, we've got 5 new apps, hopefully going to get added in the next month or two, so keep an eye out for those. You've got a QR code there. Please do just scan that. It'll take you through to the support site page with more information on how to access the Solution Store. Currently, access is limited to those on the central tenancy, but watch this space. In the early to middle of next year, we're looking to evolve the Solution Store into something much bigger, and access being opened up to NHS organisations. Finally, I just want to add that within NHS England, we're also looking at working on automation of the next year. So if anyone has any interest who is based on the central tenancy, then please do get in touch. And yeah, thank you very much. I'll hand back over to Bill.
Thank you, Saj. Much appreciated. So moving on, I think handing back to Karen. So a short session for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, so I just wanted to leave you with some information on our free Power Platform ideation session. So if you're thinking about, potentially where to start with the Power Platform, what use cases are there, how it can be aligned by value, if you need to do a business case as well, how do you get that kind of potential backlog and understand what the kind of ROI would be, either from a cost perspective or a time saving perspective, and really kind of what should the priority be? Starting with one of the DigPacks solutions as it's already been created and using it there, if you already have that use case that you need to, is a great starting point. But if you really want to look at a kind of Power Platform as a strategic platform, we can offer this free ideation session. So it's a very collaborative workshop. It's not specifically tech focused, really. What we try to do is understand the current challenges. What are the blockers? What's manual or costly processes? Where do you have all that paper? Where do you have all that spreadsheet? Where is time being taken away from patient care or from employee kind of experience, or what they should be doing day to day as well? We also look at what you're really good at the moment. So what processes are you proud of? You know, do you win awards for things? Is there, you know, what do you think, you know, is a job well done that you do too? Because if you can use what you do really well to overcome some of those challenges, then what that then does is unlocks opportunities for improvement as well. So having Power Platform solutions lets you alleviate that day-to-day, all of that administration, so you can concentrate on areas that actually will provide value. So when we look at all of these information, we then put everything into themes to understand what the Power Platform solutions could look like and how they could have a return in value. Then we put them on a priority matrix, comparing the value versus the complexity of actually implementing them at the trust too. This creates a prioritized backlog for you. So more than happy to offer that to you. Of course, you know, if you're interested in that, do please reach out to us, but otherwise we're more than happy to reach out to you afterwards to let you know some more information about it. Okay, Bill, next slide. Okay, this is over to Mehmet just to talk about Microsoft and your support team there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Karen. And hi all, and huge thank you to DigPacks team and Louisa. Great content have been shared today, really, and we are really keen to work with you on your use cases. We are 3 people in the enterprise team covering NHS Trust across UK. Everybody is covering different territories, but feel free to reach out any of us and we will connect you with your SSP for Power Platform. And how can we support? So basically we have 2 different kind of types of fundings. One of them is pre-sales fundings and post-sales. And with pre-sales fundings, we basically, these fundings are provided to partners to deliver the workshop to you. And DigPack is one of the partners who is eligible to get this funding for you. And for pre-sales, we have 2 types. The first one is low-code vision and value. The goal is to create the vision for business process transformation. And they will help you to document the vision, create the plan, and create a business case. And the second one is low-code governance and strategy. The goal is to help you to prepare effective governance, security, and operations on your low-code platform. And then we have the post-sales funding, and this is to help you with your deployment efforts, again, provided to partners to deliver the services. And apart from the fundings, we have this agreed discounted pricing with NHS England for Power Apps. So it's available to every NHS trust. So please feel free to reach out to us, your solution specialist, to discuss the pricing for Power Apps as well. So thank you so much. Back to you, Karen.
Thanks very much, Mehmet. Next one, please, Bill. Okay, so I just wanted to leave you with the next dates for the rest of the Power Platform webinar series. Please note that these may be subject to change, but these are the dates so far. These webinars will be focused on different areas of the trust and the relevant solutions that DigPack has created for those, or has been involved with other trusts for creating them too. So if you do have any colleagues that are specifically within these as well, you know, please feel free to forward on any invites. And of course, yourselves are also more than welcome to attend. So on Wednesday, the 20th of November, at the moment, it's HR and workforce solutions. Wednesday, the 4th of December, it's appointments and referrals. Governance and automation is on the 11th of December as well. That's more focus on the Centre of Excellence toolkit, the DLPs, the connector reviews, all of those, but also being able to automate that governance too. Finance specific solutions will be on the 22nd of January and compliance and auditing will be on the 12th of February. Unless any times do change, they're normally going to be at 11 o'clock in the morning too. You could click on one more, Bill, please. So yeah, again, just want to say thanks for attending today. If you do have any comments, still feel free to put them into the chat now. I know that we have about 5 minutes. So if there is anything that any of my colleagues or the Microsoft want to kind of respond to now, otherwise we're more than happy to contact you directly to answer those questions in there. can see that we've got a few questions and a few in the chat as well. So I know that we've been kind of busy answering those in there. Like I said, any more that's in there, please feel free to put them in there now. And if we don't have time in the next 4 minutes to answer them, then we will get back to you afterwards. So Bill, Louisa, Josh, Mehmet, any questions that you wanted to kind of look at or pick out on here to answer, or if we don't have time, that's fine. We can answer them.
I guess
separately.
very quickly, I've seen questions on System 1. So yes, we've absolutely integrated with System 1 RPA processes in, and typically the way the RPA processes work, which is different from other RPA processes, i.e. Blue Prism, etc., is typically we'll have the RPA process at the back end, but instead of needing technical support to manage those RPA processes, we can bring a lot of that data to the front end. So we have a Power App that you can manage those processes with, so end users can see the full audit of all the processes that have run. If there's any intervention required because a piece of data is missing, for example, the end user or the power user can enter that data in and continue the process on. There's much less of a need for a technical intervention around the RPA processes with Power. I think there's also a question from Patrick Highland around what finance applications and automations have you created. So we've done a number of invoice processing, for example, and that kind of thing. And we have a generic out of the box invoice processing solution that we could also show to you. So it's a very quick implementation with pre-trained models, etc. And it's not just, in fairness, for finance, it's for document recognition, as Louisa touched upon on her segment. It recognizes the document it's looking at automatically. And again, talking about how we integrate a Power App front end in, if it doesn't recognize it, which is a very small percentage of the cases, then it surfaces that up in a Power App, and now the end user can decide what to do with it. Is it for finance? Is it for HR, etc.? And they can allocate to the correct team and continue the process forward.
I've just seen a question on about the invite. So what we're hoping to do is to actually have a landing page on our DigPacks website, and we'll be putting the whole series up there so you can register for one or more there, and then we'll be sending you a link to that landing page. So that is the aim for doing that. But yeah, please look out for kind of emails with those links on soon, or check back onto the website and it should be updated quite shortly. Okay, I think if we just move on one last slide. So just wanted to put up our contact details again here. I know it's always quite difficult to scribble things down really quickly, but hopefully our email addresses are quite easy to kind of learn from here. It will be on the invites that we've been sending out as well, so feel free to contact us there, as well as contacting Microsoft too. And yeah, if you are on the central tenant and you're on the store, then there'll be the ability to contact Saj from there. So just want to kind of finish today, just say thank you everybody for attending again. I hope you found it interesting and informative. Any comments, anything that you want to let us know afterwards, any way that you think that we could improve these. As I said, the future webinars will be specific on those topics that I showed to, so we'll get into more detail about some specific apps from there. Okay, well, brilliant. So yeah, we'll probably sign off now, and we will make the recording available to everybody afterwards as well.
Cool. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.